Hey everyone, it's Robin here, and today this video is going to be a guide about the strongest comps of patch 14.19. I haven't done one of these videos in a long time. I used to post guides on YouTube a lot. I don't know why I stopped. Currently, I'm posting guides on Twitter, on my stream, and I realized I'm not really posting guides on YouTube, so I want to start doing that again. So this is going to be, the top comps of 14.19. And I'm going to just go over it through my website called the TFT Handbook. If you guys don't know about it, I made this website myself. It's called tfthandbook.com. Very, very simple website. Basically has just all the top comps in the game. The standard comps where you don't need an emblem for, comps that you need an emblem for, and then reroll comps, and then hero augments. Basically, you just click in, shows you the comp, shows you the items, when to play, how to play, and very, very simple. Make sure to check that out, but I'll just be going through this, using this handbook as a guide for this video. And without further ado, let's get right into it. So first, I'm going to go through the standard comps, the comps that you do not need an emblem for, and you do not need like conditional augments for. So technically you could play these comps like every single game if you wanted to. I'm going to try to breeze through these comps because I don't want to make this video too long. I just want to go through the basics and stuff. And if you have any more questions, you can leave it in the comments or ask in my stream. Just reference that handbook, whatever. So first comp I want to talk about is going to be 4 Warrior. 4 Warrior just got buffed this patch, and they also buffed Gwen's AI. So this comp is really, really strong right now. I want to just show you the comp on the handbook, and I'm going to go through the builder and let you guys know. So the core is going to be 4 Warrior. You're going to play Gwen, Fiora, Katarina, and Akali. You're not going to be playing Nyla because Nyla traits are not that good. So these 4. And then from these 4, you can actually play a lot of different variations. The first variation, the easiest one, is if you hit Milio, you want to play Bard to get Sugarcraft with Gwen. You want to play Milio to get Scholar with Bard. And then you want to play Rakan to get the Preserver and the 3 Fairy for the Fairy item on Katarina. And then the last slot can be any Preserver. It could be Zillion. Ideally, it could be Morgana. And basically, this is just Preserver Warriors. The other version you can play is the traditional version of the Hecarim, Kalista, Shen, where you get the Pyro, the Bastion, the Multi-Striker. You can also replace Shen here with Lilia if you want to get the Fairy item for Katarina. And then you can just play like a random Bard, level 8, for the Sugarcraft with Gwen. Just play what you hit. I do think the Preserver version is better. This Kalista version is probably better if you have like a Ginsu or Kalista items. But yeah. The core is going to be the 4 Warriors, and then the items you want: Fiora, BT, Sterax, Titans, just regular bruiser items. Gwen, you want like Blue Buff, JG Hodge, like any AP item or any healing item works. BT works, Crown Guard works, Rabadon, stuff like that. Just like any like items on Gwen. And then if you have more AP items, you put it on Katarina, like the JG Hodge on Katarina. If you're playing the Kalista version, you can go Ginsu Kalista or Last Whisper Kalista. Basically, I would play this comp probably when you're forced to slam like a AP items early game, and then like Karma is too contested. You could just play like the 4 Warrior version. Katarina's nice here because it gives you a free anti-heal, so you don't need to build anti-heal items for this comp. The next comp I'm going to talk about is Arcana Varus. Arcana Varus, really, really strong this patch. It was gaining in popularity last patch, and then now this patch with the nerfs of Kalista, it's probably one of the strongest comps in the game. So then it's going to be Ahri, Hecarim, and Tahm Kench. Assuming you don't hit Xerath, I'm not going to put Xerath yet. You're going to play Varus, and then basically you pair a Bastion with Hecarim, which is Shen, gives you Pyro. Vanguard with Tahm Kench, which is Rumble, which gives you Blaster. And then you're going to play Bard here to get Sugarcraft Scholar. You have one more slot here for a random Preserver like Rakan. And then as you can see, this comp has a lot of traits. So you want to Arcana Emblem the Tahm Kench to get infinite HP on your board. Let's say you hit Xerath on 8, then you can just drop this Rakan and play Xerath, and then you have 4 Arcana. Pretty easy. When you go level 9, you could just play a random Preserver like Morgana or like Rakan, stuff like that. Items you want on this comp is going to be Shojin, IE on Varus. Those are the 2 most important items on Varus. The last item is pretty flex. Could be Last Whisper, could be Red Buff. And you want to put your leftover AP items on Bard, like a Shojin, Archangel. If you hit Xerath, obviously put it on Xerath. And then the items that you want for this comp in the front line, it's a little bit different. Like Warmog's Gargoyle is still like is always going to be good, but you actually want like Tahm Kench to cast ASAP. So like items like Protector's Vow and Adaptive are really good because it gives Tahm Kench mana for him to cast faster. If you have Shen 2 before Tahm Kench 2, you probably want to stack Shen instead and then do this. What I like to do with this comp is I like to solo frontline a unit because you want their frontline to crowd around your unit, and so Varus can get max blaster value, shoots the entire AoE and like kills everything. So I like solo frontlining in this comp. I would usually always angle this comp with like an AD Shojin opener. So for example, it would be like Shojin Twitch with like a Warwick and a Blitz opener. Like something like this, I'm just going to play Varus. The next comp is going to be Faerie Kalista. Faerie Kalista was the most broken comp last patch. It got nerfed a little bit, but it's still really strong this patch. Pretty easy comp to play. Lilia, Trist, Katarina, Rakan, Kalista. It's the same units every single game. And you play Jax, Zillion, and then a Hecarim. This exact same board every single game on level 8. You want double Ginsu on Kalista ideally, but double Ginsu is kind of hard to get. So then Ginsu Last Whisper works. Ginsu Red Buff is probably even harder to get, but that also works. You want to put the Fairy item on Kalista. Rakan just wants any tank items. Redemption, Gargoyle, Warmogs, whatever. And then you want to put the Even Shroud either on Hecarim or Lilia, whoever can survive longer, for Shred. And then you want to put your leftover AP items on Katarina. And then when you hit Milio, you want to drop Tristana for Milio, and you drop Jax for Camille. And then if you level up to level 9, you could just play like a Morgana for Preserver or something. Comp is really easy. You guys probably already know how to play it because you guys probably already learned it last patch, but it's still really strong this patch. Next comp is going to be Karmma Fiora, like Karmma Flex. This comp is even stronger in this patch because they buffed Gwen's AI. So this comp is actually pretty flexible. The core units is going to be Karmma, Zillion, and Bard. These are the core units in my opinion. And then you can play, usually it's like Fiora Gwen. And then you have 3 more units to round out on level 8. A common version is going to be the Nako Nisus combo package. You get Witchcraft, you get Shapeshifter, and then you can play like a Incanter here for like a Cassio or something. You can also go like, obviously you can go more Preservers, so you can go Rakan, Morg, whatever you hit. You can play Briar over like Nasus or Nico. You can even play like Swain if you want to be a little bit flexible. You can also play Taric Diana package. So this comp is like super flexible. It would just be revolving around Karmma, Zillion, Bard, and you round out everything else. Obviously, you want to play Fiora Gwen, but if you don't hit Fiora 2, Gwen 2, you know, sometimes you can just drop it and just play like Cassio with like Nasus, Nico, Diana, and Taric, like something like this, like 2 Bastion, 2 Shape, just let Karmma solo carry or something. It's fine. You can play like a Swain over like Nasus here for 3 Frost if you're carrying Diana. But yeah, comp is very flexible. The generic comp is just going to be like Fiora, Gwen, Rakan. You could probably put this in your team planner. This comp is also very expensive, so you do probably want to win streak early game or get some econ augments to play it. Items are going to be, you know, Morello on Karmma, blue buff, static shiv, just mana gen plus Morello, anti-heal. Red buff also works instead of Morello, so it's fine. Gwen gets AP items, Rabadon, JG, Hodge, Crown Guard, whatever. Fiora, BT, Sterax, IE, Titans, whatever. And you just put your tank items on Rakan, Nasus, or Nico. Yeah, pretty self-explanatory. This comp has been playable for many patches now, so you should know how to play this. The final standard comp that you don't need an emblem for is going to be Scholar Ryze. Scholar Ryze it's going to be always 4 Scholar Ryze, and then you flex your front line. Scholar is going to be Zoe, Ryze, Bard, and Ahri, right? And then the front line is always going to be Taric. So you get your 3 Portal. And then from here, you just flex 3 more units. You can play Preservers with Bard. So you play Rakan, Morg. It's obviously pretty good. You can play Bastion to pair with Taric. So Diana, Shen, Hecarim. Hecarim is nice because it gives you Arcana with Ahri. You can play a Tahm Kench to pair with Ahri. And then Arcana to Tahm Kench for more frontline. If you hit Milio, I would always keep Zoe and Ryze for Portal. You can either replace Bard if you're not playing any Preservers. For example, if you don't play Rakan and you're playing like Hecarim, Tahm Kench, in this case, you can just drop the Bard and then because you don't need Preserver. Most games though, you probably will be playing a Preserver like Rakan. So then in this case, you probably just drop Ahri for Milio, and then yeah, because you don't really need. I mean, you don't really need the Arcana. Let's say you drop Hecarim here for like Diana. You can play something like this. There's also like even other versions now where you play like Fiora Gwen on this board. Honestly, you can play Fiora Gwen on any board you see. Something like this, 4 Scholar Fiora Gwen also works, but basically it's just flex around 4 Scholar plus Taric, and you round out your trades. Play a Bastion, play a Tahm Kench 2, play a Diana, Shen, play Preservers. Pretty easy. Items here, you do not want mana gen items on Ryze because Ryze gets mana gen from attack speed because of Scholar trait. So you want items like Ginsu, Shiv, Red buff as mana gen items, and then you want to pair it with like AP, so like Archangel or Rabadon or JG. Obviously, you want anti-heal as well. Morello. Red buff works. Red buff is really good on Ryze because it gives you mana gen and anti-heal. So like a 2-for-1 package. And then tank items like generic tank items, Gargoyle, Warmogs, whatever. And then you can put your leftover items on Milio because giving Milio items basically gives your entire team items. So yeah. That's pretty much it for the standard comps. The main comps are going to be, yeah, Arcana Varus, Faerie Kalista, Karmma, Ryze, and 4 warrior. The 4 warrior comp is very similar to the it's like very similar to the Karmma comp, because like you're basically dropping 2 warrior and playing Karmma and like Zillion. But if you don't have any Karmma items, or if you need anti-heal from Katarina, then I would just play 4 warrior. Next up, we're gonna be moving on to the comps that need an emblem for and are also really strong. First one's going to be 6 Blaster. This one requires a Blaster emblem. So it's a little bit different from Arcana Varus, but basically you're going to be playing 6 Blaster. So you're going to play Rumble, Trist, Hui, Ezreal, Varus, and then you're going to play Arcana with it. So Tahm Kench, Hecarim, and then Ashen for Bastion plus Pyro. And then this is your board on level 8. Going to be Arcana Hecarim this time instead of Tahm Kench, because you don't have that many traits. And you want AD on all your blasters. Same items, Shojin, IE, and then like red buff, and you want Vow, adaptive on Tahm Kench. Pretty similar to Arcana Varus, except instead of like getting more traits with Ari and Bard and stuff, you're just playing more blasters. And this comp is like only playable with Blaster +1, because without Blaster +1, you need to hit a Smolder for 6 Blaster, which is inconsistent, and you can't even fit the board on 8 really. This is the 6 Blaster comp, really, really strong. Next comp is going to be 6 Sugar. They buffed 6 Sugar again this patch, so it's playable again. Last patch was like completely unplayable, but then this patch is playable again. This is only playable with Sugar +1, so the comp is going to revolve around Soraka, Rumble, Bard, Jinx, and Gwen. And then this is 5 Sugar, and then your Sugar emblem holder. Usually, the easiest one is just play Fiora, and you just Sugar Fiora. This one's easy because Fiora can use the stats really well. You want to pair Vanguard with Rumble, so it's going to be Tahm Kench. And then you have one more slot. I like to play a Preserver with Bard, so Rakan is pretty good. If you get Morgana, it's even better because it gives you 2 Witchcraft. Something like this is pretty generic. Sometimes if I don't hit Fiora, I like to play Olaf as well, because you get Hunter with Jinx, and you're just losing Warrior for Gwen, which is like not that big of a deal. So definitely hold the Olafs on roll down. And if you don't hit any of these, you could just play Rakan or 3 Preserver. The comp is pretty like linear, like not linear, but like there's not that many units that you can play with it. Basically, just try to play a Vanguard with Rumble, try to play a Preserver with Bard, and then play a Warrior with Gwen or a Hunter. There's no traits. You usually are not playing mages. Another thing is you can pair Scholar with Bard, so you can play like a Ryze that holds the Sugar emblem, or you can play like a Milio. They work fine as well. Items are going to be, Gwen items, blue buff, JG, Hodge, something like this. Tank items on Tahm Kench, the Vow. And then, if you have attack speed items, I like to put it on Jinx, Ginsu Runons. Jinx can pop off with 6. Leftover AP items, put it on Bard. Bard can also pop off. This comp, you want to save a lot of HP early game because you just scale with your sugar stacks. So and then once you get to late game, you just outscale people with your sugar, with your cakes. The third emblem comp is going to be 6 Witchcraft. This is only playable with Witchcraft +1. You're going to put the Witchcraft emblem on your carry to get the true damage. Comp is pretty easy as well. Poppy, Zoe, Cass, Nico, and Fiora. Assuming you don't hit Morgana, you're going to play around these units, and then you just round out the traits. So your carry is either going to be a Ryze or a Karmma. Ryze pairs Scholar with Zoe, and then Karmma pairs Encanter with Cassio. They both want the Witchcraft emblem for true damage. And then Ryze and Karmma hold different items. Karmma wants like the blue buff Morello. Ryze wants like the Ginsu Morello. So Ryze wants attack speed. Karmma wants mana gen. And then these are your 2 potential carries. Then you want to pair like a Shapeshifter with Nico. You can play Nasus or Swain or Briar to pair with Nico. I like to pair Taric with Poppy, because if you're playing Ryze, you get free 3 Portal. You can even pair Gwen with Fiora. Something like this. Let's say you're playing like Karmma carry, and then let's say you're just playing a Nasus here. Let's say you hit Morgana. Then if you play Morgana, you can probably just drop the Zoe or the Poppy. If you're playing a Bastion with Poppy, let's say you're playing Taric, then you want to drop a Zoe. And then let's say you're not playing Bastion, then you can just drop the Poppy. Something like this. And if you hit the Morgana, you can just pair Preserver with Morgana. So you can play Rakan, you can play Zillion, you can play Bard. But that's only if you hit Morgana. So Morgana is really, really good to hit in this comp. Yeah, basically it. Karmma, Ryze, whatever you hit. And then Fiora gets, Sterex, BT, and then tank items on Nico, Nasus, or Morgana. Next comp is going to be 7 Eldritch. This comp keeps getting buffed every single patch. And this patch, it's actually pretty playable. Probably not an S tier comp, but definitely playable. There's 2 ways to play this comp. You can either re-roll Syndra and Nyla, or you can just push levels. Comp is going to revolve around these 6 units, assuming you don't hit Briar. And then you want to, let's talk about the reroll comp first. You can reroll Syndra, reroll Nyla here. And then usually you just want to pair a Vanguard with Mordekaiser. Usually that's Tahm Kench. And then you can pair like an Encanter with Syndra, which is usually going to be Karmma. A board like this is pretty good. Let's say you put the Elder Spat on like Tom Kench. Like a board like this is pretty normal. Let's say you do hit the Briar, which is extremely good. You can just drop like the Ash or something, and this can be your board. Items on Syndra. You guys probably play Syndra, the Syndra patch. You just want mana gen and AP. So like Shojin, Ginsu plus like JG is pretty good. Red buff, Nashers is really good. And then you want to put your 80 items on Nyla, BT, Titans, Sterax, whatever, i.e. Last Whisper. Leftover 80 items on Briar. Briar pops off still. Titans, BT. And then tank items on Mordekaiser or Tom Kench. Let's say you want to push levels instead, like you're really far from Syndra and Nyla, then like you can just go 2-star these. You're not going to carry Nyla and you're not going to carry Syndra, but instead you're going to carry Nami, Shojin, Morello, something like this. You're going to be playing the same board, except you are just carrying Nami instead. Sometimes you can play Mage with Nami. Like you can go, instead of Tom Kench, you can play Galio, and then you can play like a random Mage, Veigar, Yuumi, whatever, to pair Mage with Nami. But I don't really like pairing Mage with Nami because the Mage units are trash. So I just like to forego the Mage on Nami and just play like good units. Tom Kench, Karma. Probably the same board as the other board, but instead you're just carrying Nami and trying to fish for the Briar and then carrying Briar. Next up is going to be 7 Frost. Frost did get kind of nerfed this patch, but it's still very, very good. 7 Frost, you're going to play 6 Frost units, Twitch, Warwick, Zillion, Swain, Hui, and Olaf. And these are going to be your 6 units. Then usually the most generic version is going to be Varus and Nasus. Nasus pairs with Swain, Varus pairs with Hui. And Varus is a really, really good Frost emblem holder. And in this comp, you want to go like, you know, Shojin IE on Varus. And then you want to give anti-heal to Hui. So like red buff, Morello on Hui. Tank items on Nasus. You know, Gargoyle, Warmogs. And then you want to put 80 items on Olaf. Stuff like Titans, BT, Sterax. Items are very similar to Fiora. And then when you hit Diana, you can drop Warwick for Diana. And then if you go level 9, you can play a Bastion. So like you can play Shen. You can play Morgana. You can play Rakan. Preservers to pair with Zillion. Bastion to pair with Diana. Next comes going to be 8 Portal Ryze. 8 Portal Ryze has been good every single patch. And it's still very, very good this patch. Pretty easy comp. Going to play 7 Portal, Jace, Zoe, Kassadin, Galio, Ezreal, Ryze, and Taric. And then if you have Portal +1, you can play 8 Portal on level 8. You just have a +1 unit, right? The +1 unit, I like to play either a Bastion to pair with Taric. So like Diana, Shen to pair with Taric. You can play a Nami. If you hit Yuumi, it gets way better because it gives you free mage with Galio. You can play a Tom Kench to pair with Galio that gives CC. You can play a Nasus to pair with Jace. So basically, you're just playing a Bastion Shapeshifter or, you know, Nami if you have Yuumi. And then items are going to be same Ryze items, attack speed items, Ginsu, Archangel, and an anti-heal, Morello, something like this. And then tank items on Taric. Same thing, Warmogs, Gargoyle, whatever. And then you put your Portal emblem on like your +1 unit. Nasus, Tom Kench, Diana, whatever. Pretty easy comp to play. Next comp is going to be Chrono Karmma. Chrono +1 is also very good this patch. Chrono +1, you're going to try to play 6 Chrono in this comp, but that means you have to hit Camille, which is pretty hard. So most of the time, you're going to play 4 Chrono and try to fast 9 into Camille. So then what is the 4 Chrono comp on level 8? So it's going to revolve around these units. And then you can play an Incanter with Karma. And then you can play some Preservers with Zillion, Rakan, Morgana, Bard, Gwen. Put the Chrono emblem on Gwen. And then something like this. Basically, Chrono gives you AP. So like Gwen and Morgana are pretty good Chrono emblem holders. And then you would probably just play this board and then try to fast 9. And then once you hit Camille, you can play drop the Gwen and play 6 Chrono like this. And you can just put the Chrono emblem on Morgana. Something like this. So this comp, you want to play 4 Chrono plus Preservers and Incanter and on 8 usually. And then you want to go 9 for Camille and play 6 Chrono. Sometimes you will hit the Camille on 8 and you can just play 6 Chrono on 8. In which case it would probably just look like this. 6 Chrono, 3 Preserver, whatever. And then put the Chrono emblem on a random unit, Bard, Rakan, whatever. Usually for this comp, you want to put tank items on Vex. Obviously, you want to put it on Rakan 2 if you hit Rakan 2. But most games, you're just going to have it on Vex. Because Vex, like Vex is actually pretty strong with 4 Chrono. 6 Chrono, she just full heals after a while, so it's pretty good. And then items on Karma, Blue Buff, Morello, Static Shiv, whatever. And then if you hit Camille and play 6 Chrono, obviously you want to put 80 items on Camille because 6 Chrono Camille is actually very strong. BT, Sterax on Camille gives infinite attack speed. So super good with 6 Chrono. The next comp I want to talk about is going to be 6 Warrior. I have not added it to the handbook yet, but it will be up by the time this video is posted. But 6 Warrior, still super, super strong this patch. You can only play with Warrior +1. So it's going to revolve around 6 Warrior pretty easy. Akali, Nyla, Katarina, Fiora, Gwen, like this. And then you just round out you have 3 more units to round out your traits. So you're going to play Hecarim. I mean, there's a lot of versions you can play, right? Bard, Zillion, Morg. You can play Preservers. As I talked about before, it's pretty similar to the 4 warrior comp, except you're just playing one more warrior. You can play the Preserver package. You can play the Hecarim, Kalista, Lilia package, and you can just warrior Hecarim or warrior Kalista. You can play instead of the fairy item, you can play Shen for Bastion plus Pyro. If you hit Milio, you can play Bard, Milio, Rakan combo, which is probably the best, but you need to hit Milio, and then you can just warrior Bard for more damage. But it's very similar to the 4 warrior comp, and same items as the 4 warrior comp: BT, Sterax, AP items on Gwen, and then AP items on Katarina, something like this. Super strong. Last comp I want to talk about is going to be Pyro Varus. You play this when you get Pyro +1. Basically, you just want to play 5 Pyro plus X. So Pyro units: Akali, Shen, Varus, Nasus. Usually you want to play just pair Arcana with it as usual. Tom, Heck, and then play Rumble for Blaster and Vanguard. And then the last unit can be a Shapeshifter. Briar's pretty good. Pyro Briar is really good. You can play an Ari for more Arcana. You can play Zerath for more Arcana. Something like this. You can also play a Warrior with Akali. You can play like Pyro Fiora, Pyro Gwen, whatever you hit. You can also play, play Camille to get 3 multi-striker. And then Pyro Camille or Pyro Hecarim is also pretty good. It's basically just, 4 Pyro plus Arcana. And you're just carrying Varus as well. Just gives you the 5 Pyro execution. Shojin, IE, same items, IE Last Whisper, stuff like that. And that's it for this comp. I'm not going to go over the reroll comps and the hero augments for this video, because I think the hero augments, there's a lot of videos talking about that already, and they're played the same way as every other patch. And plus, I don't think it's that strong this patch. So, and I don't think any of the reroll comps are strong besides maybe Ziggs reroll. But to keep this video simple and short, I'm just going to include the standard comps and the comps that you can play with +1. I believe that you don't actually have to play a reroll comp this patch to climb. So that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.